The star map flickered across the hollow screen. Her glowing eyes blinked rapidly. Admiral Carrion's tail lashed against the table. "They're expanding again," he hissed. Lieutenant Cyril leaned forward, her iridescent skin reflecting the pale blue light. "Where this time?" Carrion tapped the map. "The Erythra system, uninhabited planet in the outer rim. Landing zones already set. Atmospheric conversion initiated." Cyril hissed, a mix of frustration and fear. "How many colonists?" "Approximately 15,000, Carrion replied, voice clipped. "Standard human settlement pattern." Cyril's eyes narrowed. "Standard? There is nothing standard about humans. Remember that." I remained silent, recording every gesture. "My name is Varen, exobiologist. 6 cycles ago, I cataloged exotic plants in the outer rim. Now I studied the most unpredictable species in the galaxy, humans. I wasn't trained for war, but I was learning fast." Commander Cyril turned to me. "You studied their expansion. Assessment." I clear my throat. "Erythra has abundant water. Gravity slightly stronger than standard. Mineral deposits comparable to their homeworld. Fits their colonization criteria." Her gaze sharpened. "I didn't ask for a real estate report. Strategic intent, Varen. What are they planning?" I swallowed. "Humans don't think like us. They colonize because they must. Instinct, curiosity, survival. They spread because they can, not because it's strategic." Carrion snorted. "Persistent pests, that's all. Nothing unstoppable." Cyril's eyes cut him a warning. "Persistent pests that outmaneuver every containment plan. Do not underestimate them." Reports flooded in from the fleet. Human colonies across multiple sectors were resilient, organized, and aggressive when threatened. I studied the holographic layout of the Erythra colony. Something wasn't right. The structures were more than civilian dwellings. They were defensive. After the briefing, I approached Cyril privately. "Commander, may I speak freely?" Her tail flicked. "Make it quick. The colony layout suggests they expect resistance. They know we're observing." Her scale brow rose. "Explain." I brought up the scans on my pad. "See these perimeter structures? Overlapping fields of fire. The larger buildings near the perimeter, likely defense installations. They're prepared. This isn't a standard settlement." Cyril considered my words. "How do you suggest we proceed?" "Send me with the reconnaissance team," I said, surprising even myself. "I can notice behavioral patterns that soldiers might miss. Subtle clues. Humans think differently. I can interpret it." Her eyes lingered on me. 6 hours. You joined Captain Draven's team. Don't make me regret this." I nodded. I couldn't fail. Humans were unpredictable, brilliant, dangerous, and that made them fascinating. 6 hours later, I stood aboard the stealth shuttle. Its dark surface absorbed the faint starlight, rendering it nearly invisible to orbital scanners. Captain Draven and his reconnaissance team surrounded me. Draven's skin was pale blue, almost translucent. Veins pulsed beneath, a complex network that shimmered with faint bioluminescence. His expression was unreadable. "You are the exobiologist, Varen. Commander Cyril says you understand human behavior. Explain your qualifications." "I've studied them for cycles," I said, trying to project confidence I didn't feel. "Their settlements, adaptation patterns, and behavior under stress." The soldiers exchanged glances. A reptilian named Krex clicked his mandibles. "Studying and surviving are different. Humans are unpredictable." "Understand," I replied. Captain Draven's eyes scanned the hollow map of the Erythra colony. "Remember, observation only. No interference. Their capabilities are greater than you imagine. Humans compensate for physical weaknesses with intuition and improvisation. Never underestimate them." A female soldier, Zevik, leaned forward. During the Proxima skirmish, I watched a human lift a transport vehicle to free a trapped companion. Strength multiplies when their pack is threatened. Another nodded. They don't respond to pain like normal species. I shot one 3 times. He kept fighting until he collapsed completely. Adrenaline, I explained. Stress response temporarily enhances physical abilities and dampens pain perception. It's biological, not mystical. Draven's tail flicked. Regardless, it makes them dangerous. No risks. The shuttle descended into Erythra's atmosphere. The planet stretched below. Vast oceans of deep blue, rust-red continents, and geometric patterns of human construction. Forests of violet leaf trees provided perfect cover for our landing 3 kilometers from the colony. The gravity was slightly stronger than my homeworld's, forcing careful steps. I struggled to match the soldiers' practiced stealth. Each snap of a twig made my chest tighten. Draven shot me a disapproving glance. I focused on breathing, trying not to betray my presence. We approached the colony's edge. The forest ended abruptly. A cleared perimeter stretched 500 meters in all directions. Standard for defensive human colonies, but I noticed a pattern in the soil. "Captain," I whispered, pointing. "Look at the texture. Regular intervals." "Mine." He crouched beside me. "Explosives or sensors?" "Could be either." Draven signaled a halt. "Observation only." Long-range scanners deployed. The team set up micro-drones, each no larger than a thumb, capable of transmitting real-time imagery without alerting most detection systems. I studied the human settlement through the drone feed. The central structure gleamed under the sun. Reflective panels shifted like liquid metal. "Not residential," I said. "A scientific facility. Humans don't prioritize research unless something valuable or dangerous is involved." Draven raised a ridge on his forehead. "Military trained, then? Personnel aren't civilians." Krex zoomed in on humans unloading large crates. "Plasma drills. Mining equipment." Zevik added, pointing to another area. "Heavy weapons crates. Standard human artillery." I frowned. Terraforming equipment suggests long-term settlement. Weapons and military personnel suggest immediate objectives. Were they after? Before I could answer, Krex's drone transmitted a shocking image. A massive excavation site, at least 100 meters across, plunging deep into the crust. Humans in protective suits move containers of glowing blue-green material. "Quantium," I whispered. My pulse raced. Draven's jaw tightened. "Explain." "It's rare. Quantum unstable. Can store and transfer massive energy. Ideal for faster-than-light propulsion. Nearly mythical if found in quantity." Zevik's eyes widened. "Humans found it first." "Yes," I said. "A colony built around quantium would shift galactic power exponentially." Draven nodded grimly. "We report this immediately. Coalition must know." I continued watching the humans work. Efficiency, focus, precision. Every action mattered. No hesitation. Even unaware of our observation, they operated with purpose, as if survival of their species depended on it. Suddenly, drone sensors detected rapid movement nearby. "We've been compromised," Draven barked. "Move." We abandoned equipment, racing into the forest. My legs burned. Trees exploded behind us as human weapons fired, precise and lethal. "They're trying to eliminate us," Krex hissed. A ravine appeared ahead, a 20-meter drop with a raging river below. Draven didn't hesitate. "Jump." We leapt. I felt the rush of wind and the roar of water below. Landing was brutal, but we survived. Human voices shouted from the trees. Coordinated, calculated, surrounding us. A flash of light struck the ground behind us. Draven reached for his weapon. but humans were faster. The rest of the team raised hands in surrender. A human stepped forward, removing their helmet. Pale skin, dark hair, gray-blue eyes. Curiosity shone in them. Not anger, not hate, but scientific curiosity. "You are the exobiologist," they said. Statement, not question. I blinked. "Yes, I am Varen. But how?" "We know," the human interrupted, "about your mission, your fleet, your intentions. We've been studying you as you've studied us, and we are better at it." A chill ran down my spine. Every alien species feared humans for their adaptability, their methodical patience, their ability to anticipate and counter threats. The human gestured. "Follow. Up close. Observe. Learn." Bound and escorted, I realized this was the first true test. Humans are not just strong. They were patient, brilliant, and deadly when cornered. The air inside the human colony smelled faintly metallic, with an undertone of ozone. I had expected chaos, alarms, panicked civilians. Instead, everything was deliberate, controlled, calm. We were led down a wide corridor with smooth white walls that seemed to absorb sound. The lighting shifted subtly, responding to our movement. Every human we passed glanced at us only briefly, their focus returning to their work. They were efficient, professional, and unafraid. The human who had captured me spoke again. "I am Director Callan, head of security for Outpost Erythra. Follow me." I noticed a subtle pattern in their architecture. The buildings, seemingly simple from above, were modular. They could be reconfigured in hours. Exits, defense positions, even hidden weapons caches were integrated into the structure itself. Humans were masters of deception and functionality. Even in captivity, I had to admire it. We reached a large circular chamber dominated by a holographic projection. A woman stood before it, her hair a fiery red pulled into a tight braid. She moved with calm authority, studying the projection like a conductor with an orchestra. "This is Dr. Celine," Callan said. "She wishes to speak with you." Her piercing green eyes scanned me. "Dr. Varen, your reputation precedes you." I blinked. "You've read my reports?" "Of course. Know your enemy. But I prefer to think of your coalition as a potential partner, not just adversaries." I sat, unsure if the chair was human-designed or some adaptive nanotech. It molded perfectly to my alien physiology. "Impressive. You were wondering why we captured your team instead of eliminating them," Dr. Celine said. I hesitated. "Yes, because we need you. Your perspective bridges two worlds, human and non-human. We have discovered something unique, something alive, and it requires your understanding." She gestured to the hologram. The swirling blue-green material I had seen from the drones pulsed in exaggerated form. My pulse quickened. "The quantium?" "Yes," she said. "It is alive, or quasi-alive, silicon-based, communicates through quantum fluctuations. We did not realize its nature at first. Mining has damaged it, but it survives, and it is sending a warning." My mind spun. A sentient quantum organism. Impossible. Dr. Celine nodded gravely. "The mining exposed it too early. It attempted to communicate with us, but our sensory limitations failed. Your neurology is compatible. You can communicate." Callan's eyes bore into me. "You will help us, Dr. Varen. Without you, we cannot interpret its message, and your coalition would misinterpret our intentions. War is inevitable if they think we are hostile." I swallowed. "And if I refuse, then we proceed anyway. But the consequences, both for the quantium and your fleet, are grave. Cooperation is the only path to survival." I had no choice. The entity's existence was unprecedented. Its quantum signature could revolutionize faster than light travel, energy, even weaponry. Worse, the warning it carried might affect the survival of every species in the galaxy. Callan guided me to the laboratory. Walls lined with instruments I recognized from scientific journals, but also devices I had never seen, some humming with faint, untraceable energy. Humans, I realized, had mastered technology beyond our database. Dr. Celine motioned to a tall human with dark skin and a shaved head. Dr. Alan. He leads xenobiology. Your collaboration begins here. Hours passed as I pored over data. The quantum was more complex than any life form I had encountered. Its energy emissions weren't random. They followed patterns. Patterns that suggested intentionality. Communication. It was speaking. The fluctuations are too fast for instruments, I explained. We detect the signal, but cannot decode it remotely. It requires direct neurological contact. Dr. Alan and Celine exchanged a glance. That's dangerous, Celine said. Prolonged exposure can induce hallucinations, temporary paralysis, even death in humans. We cannot risk you. I'm not human, I said. My neurology differs. I can interact safely. They hesitated, then nodded. We will prepare the chamber. Minimal protection, only shielding against radiation. Nothing that blocks quantum interaction. Callan's voice was firm. You must succeed. If you fail, countless lives, alien and human, could be lost. The chamber was vast, deep beneath the colony. The walls glowed with the same eerie luminescence as the quantum. In the center, a depression held the swirling core. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Yet millions of tiny particles moved in perfect coordination. Fluid yet precise. Alive. I approached, every sense tingling. Be careful, Callan warned. First contact is unpredictable. I extended a hand. The moment my fingers brushed the surface, a surge of energy shot up my arm. Knowledge and sensation flooded my consciousness. Not in words. Not in images, pure concept, understanding without language. The entity was ancient, older than planets. It had traveled among the stars for eons, learning, observing, communicating through quantum entanglement. It was not alone. Others of its kind awaited in the galaxy, and it was sending a warning, something ancient and terrifying. Something that hunted its species across galaxies. Its hunters were coming, and by mining, humans had amplified its quantum signature, creating a beacon. I staggered back, overwhelmed. Callan and Dr. Alan monitored me. Their astonishment mirrored mine. It's a warning, Dr. Alan whispered. Yes, I gasped. We must act. Dr. Celine nodded. You will help us communicate with it. Translate its intent, prevent miscommunication, avoid war. And in that moment, I understood why humans were feared. Not for their weapons, not for their strength, but for their patience, their intelligence, their ability to perceive, adapt, and act in ways no other species could anticipate. The quantum pulse vibrated through me like a symphony of energy and thought. My mind was no longer entirely my own. The entity's consciousness expanded, intertwining with my neural pathways. It did not speak. It shared a torrent of data, histories of stars and civilizations, dangers far older than the galaxy itself. I staggered, gripping the edge of the chamber. Callan's voice broke through my overload of perception. Dr. Varen, are you stable? I see. I gasped. It's coming. Something hunts them, hunts everything. Dr. Celine moved closer. Explain. I took a shallow breath, trying to focus. The entity is part of a network. There are others. They communicate across the galaxy. The species that hunts them has existed for eons. They follow quantum signatures to track prey. And we have drawn their attention. Callan's eyes narrowed. Our mining activity? Yes, I replied. The quantum emits a signature, amplified by extraction. They will come here. Soon. The room fell silent. The humans, usually so composed, showed signs of unease. Not panic, never panic, but calculation, adjustment, adaptation. They were already planning. Dr. Alan asked, "How can we stop them?" "We can't," I said bluntly. "Not alone, but we can prepare. We can defend. And we can survive if we work together, humans and others." Celine's gaze hardened. "And your coalition? They won't understand without proof," I admitted. "They see humans as unpredictable, dangerous, deceitful. They won't listen until it's too late." Callan stepped forward. "Then we provide proof. Show them the quantum entity, its nature, and the threat approaching. We have 6 cycles until preliminary detection waves reach their fleet. That's enough for them to mobilize, but not enough to panic them fully." I nodded. "We need to link directly with other species in the coalition. Only someone with my neural setup can transmit this information without distortion." Celine's lips pressed into a thin line. "That makes you a target." I exhaled. "Perhaps, but it's the only way. If I can act as the bridge, all species can coordinate. We may survive." Callan's voice was steady. "We will protect you. Your abilities are unique. But time is critical. We will need a plan, and we will need to deploy humans and allies across strategic positions immediately." I felt the entity's awareness shift. It recognized my intentions. It pulsed brighter, a soft hum vibrating through my skull. "It trusts you." I drew a deep breath. "We will need to prepare the colony. Defensive structures, decoys, traps, and evacuation routes. Humans must conceal the quantum entity while projecting strength. If the hunters detect weakness, they will strike first." Celine's eyes narrowed. "Evacuate the colony?" "Not entirely," I replied. "Selective containment. Let the aliens think the colony is heavily defended while we move the core of the quantum to secure locations. Speed and precision will be essential." Callan interjected, his voice calm but firm. "I'll coordinate defense and surveillance. You focus on the entity and communication. No mistakes." Hours passed as I worked with the human xenobiology team. I had become their conduit. I felt the entity's intentions, its warning, its fear, and its hope. And through it, I began a plan. The first task was simple in theory, but impossible in practice. Communicate the threat to the coalition without triggering preemptive military aggression against humans. I encoded the quantum fluctuations through my neural interface, translating complex patterns into messages intelligible to each species' communication protocols. By cycle's end, I had generated the first proof for coalition officers, a holographic display showing the quantum entity's neural network, its energy signatures, and the incoming threat. The display also included simulations of the hunter's possible trajectories, based on the entity's memory and experience. Callan and Celine watched in silence. "Do you think they'll believe it?" she asked quietly. "I don't know," I admitted. "But once they witness the entity directly, they'll have no choice." The next challenge was defensive preparation. Humans deployed advanced kinetic barriers, energy-dampening fields, and concealed turrets. Every building, every corridor, even the smallest path in the colony was optimized for both protection and deception. Their precision was terrifying. They could fight like soldiers, think like scientists, and adapt like predators. I coordinated with their engineers to establish a series of decoys, holographic projections, energy mimics, and false quantum signatures. The goal was simple: make the colony appear larger, stronger, and more prepared than it was. The hunters must be disoriented upon arrival, buying precious time for the real defense and evacuation. Finally, I focused on the entity itself. I needed to establish a stable link so it could transmit alerts directly to coalition representatives once they arrived. I placed my neural implants closer to the quantum's core. A tingling sensation spread through my body, but it was familiar now. I understood its rhythm, its pulse, Its language. It communicated urgency, but also hope. Humans, adaptable, allies trust. I smiled faintly. The entity's perception of humans matched my growing admiration. It understood that humanity's strengths were not brute force alone, but methodical intelligence, patience, and adaptability. Traits that could save the galaxy. Hours became cycles. Day turned to night and back, though the colony's artificial lighting made no difference. Every human moved with precision. Every alien system I interfaced with hummed with activity. Together, we prepared for the inevitable. And as I observed the colony from the neural interface, I realized something fundamental. The humans were not just defenders. They were teachers. They were showing me and the galaxy what it meant to anticipate, adapt, and survive. A warning pulse from the entity signaled incoming detection waves from the hunters. Time was running out. Coalition ships would arrive shortly, but the hunters were faster. And when they arrived, only coordination, courage, and intelligence would determine survival. I disconnected briefly, my body trembling from the neural link. Callan approached. We have less than 12 hours before the first signal reaches the outer colonies. The coalition is already mobilizing. Are you ready to show them what humans are capable of? I straightened, my alien nerves steadying. Not just capable, I replied. Essential. And if we fail? Callan interrupted with a firm nod. We won't fail. Humans adapt. They endure. They survive. And now, you'll help them ensure the galaxy survives too. For the first time, I truly believed it. Not just humans, but all species, working together against an ancient, unstoppable threat. The quantum entity pulsed in agreement. Hope. And hope, I realized, was now our greatest weapon. The first signs of coalition ships appeared as tiny specks in the Centauri sky, slowly growing brighter as they approached the planet. Each vessel carried representatives from dozens of species, skeptical, cautious, and armed with centuries of distrust toward humanity. Their ships were sleek, advanced, and deadly, but I knew that even the most sophisticated fleet was untested against what was coming. Callan activated the colony-wide communication network. All coalition ships, this is Outpost Horizon. We request immediate visual confirmation of the quantum entity and its condition. A shimmer of doubt rippled through the coalition fleet. Many had never witnessed a living quantium before. Most considered it theoretical, a relic of impossible physics. Now it pulsed, a vast, glowing network stretching across the subterranean caverns of the colony. I felt its awareness as I interfaced once more, but this time through a controlled link, projecting its presence safely into the coalition sensors. Observe, understand, trust, act. The coalition officers watched, their skepticism slowly giving way to astonishment. Ships that had once considered humans persistent pests now faced undeniable proof of an entirely new life form. By the stars, one officer whispered, "It's alive." Callan turned to me. "They'll need guidance. We have limited time. Demonstrate humanity's capability." I nodded. Prepare for demonstration. Humans moved with precision. Turrets unfolded, energy shields activated, and holographic decoys projected additional defenses across the perimeter. They had anticipated the coalition's skepticism and were prepared to prove their ingenuity. The holographic projection of the quantum entity synchronized with my neural interface. Coalition officers could now observe its responses to stimuli. I initiated a controlled interaction. Light pulses, energy fluctuations, and minor structural adjustments allowed the coalition representatives to see its consciousness in action. Dr. Kalyan, the Zenobio lead for the Trilic species, murmured, "It's intelligent, responding to commands almost like a neural network." "Yes," I said. and it's far more complex than any technology we've encountered. We humans have merely begun to understand it, but the principles are universal. Coordination, adaptation, observation. These are traits that can defend us all. The demonstration was interrupted by a sudden spike in quantum feedback. The entity pulsed sharply, sending a wave of energy across the colony. Everyone staggered, including myself, but the humans remained calm. They had anticipated this. The energy surge wasn't random, it was a warning. Callan's eyes narrowed. Incoming detection wave. Hunters are already approaching the system. The Coalition officers froze. This wasn't part of their simulation. The humans had predicted an actual threat and were already preparing. The HFY element became obvious. Humans were not just capable, they were necessary. Their combination of adaptability, intelligence, and methodical action was unmatched. I projected the entity's awareness outward to the Coalition representatives. They will arrive. They hunt. Together, you must survive. The first Coalition representatives attempted to intervene. We cannot allow humans to control this. I interrupted. They are not controlling it. They are protecting it. And if you do not coordinate, it will be destroyed and you will all face the consequences. Callan gestured to me. Dr. Varen is correct. Humans can demonstrate, but cooperation is the only path forward. The first human defense squads moved into position along the perimeter. They coordinated with Coalition representatives, showing them exactly how to stabilize the quantum fields, reinforce defensive nodes, and create decoy signals. I watched in awe. Humans had taken skepticism, hostility, and centuries of misunderstanding and turned it into a teaching moment. Not arrogance, not dominance, teaching. A sudden ripple of energy pulsed through the entity. Hunters detected, approaching faster than anticipated. Callan barked orders. Deploy forward observation drones. Establish early warning. Humans and Coalition personnel, coordinate now. I interfaced with the quantum entity again, feeling the urgency of its communication. It was subtle but direct. Time is short. Prepare for arrival. The Coalition fleet began adjusting their formation, guided by humans who had anticipated every variable. Turrets that once lay dormant activated. Energy shields flickered to life, and decoy signals created phantom colonies across the terrain. I marveled at the precision. Every human movement was intentional. Every Coalition action supported. It was HFY in its purest form, a species underestimated, feared, and yet capable of coordinating across differences, thinking faster, adapting smarter, and surviving against impossible odds. Callan turned to me, his expression taut with urgency. The hunters will arrive within the hour. Coalition ships are prepared but untested. Humans, show them what we've learned. From below, the entity pulsed in a rhythm that mirrored the colony's defensive measures. It communicated strategies, predictive modeling, and coordinated adaptations. Every human understood immediately. Every Coalition representative slowly realized the truth. Humans were not pests. They were guardians. And as I observed, a shadow appeared on the outskirts of the system, a fleet unlike any I had ever seen. Sleek, black vessels moving in perfect synchrony, consuming energy, radiating malice. The hunters had found the quantum signature. Brace for impact, Callan warned. This is not a drill. I felt the quantum entity pulse sharply again. Survive, protect, unite. Humans and Coalition officers prepared for the first real contact with the ancient threat. The galaxy held its breath. And for the first time, I understood. This was exactly why every alien feared human colonies. Not because of raw strength, but because humanity had the capacity to change the rules of survival entirely. The void beyond Centauri shimmered as the first hunter vessels entered the system. Their black hulls absorbed starlight, making them appear as moving voids rather than ships. They moved with terrifying precision, each one a silent predator scanning the system for the quantum signal. Detection confirmed. Callan's voice echoed through the command center. All units, engage defensive protocols. Humans, you take lead on coordination. I watched in awe as the humans snapped into action. They didn't hesitate. Tactical holograms flared to life, showing fleet positions, predicted trajectories, and energy pulse patterns. Every coalition ship was given a role, every human action guiding the operation. From my vantage point, the scale was staggering. Thousands of human and alien personnel working in unison. Yet the humans moved as if they had anticipated every possibility. It was HFY in motion. Ingenuity, adaptability, and relentless drive, all combined into a single living force. Deploy drones to intercept hunter scouts, Callan ordered. Humans immediately released swarms of micro-drones. They moved like swarms of metallic insects, disrupting the hunter sensors and creating false signatures. The hunters adjusted, scanning, calculating, but humans were already one step ahead. I interfaced with the quantum entity again. Its pulses synchronized with the defense network, guiding energy shields and adaptive weapons. Prepare. They are faster than expected. Adapt. Humans relayed instructions instantly to coalition commanders. Focus shield triangulation on these vectors, one human officer shouted, pointing at a section of space where hunter beams converged. Adjust firepower distribution. No, left flank. Now, the hunters struck. Energy beams lanced through the system, tearing chunks from asteroids and striking shield generators. Coalition ships shuddered under the impact. I felt the terror radiating from inexperienced officers, but the humans remained steady. Calm, calculating, unstoppable in their focus. From the colony, defensive turrets activated automatically, each one synchronized with the quantum entity. Plasma bolts lanced into approaching hunters, some missing, some hitting with devastating precision. The entity pulsed, sending real-time adjustments to targeting systems. Callan glanced at me. Dr. Varen, watch their coordination. Humans anticipate even alien reactions. I couldn't take my eyes off the holographic projections. Humans moved as if reading the hunters' minds, predicting maneuvers before they occurred. Coalition officers adjusted with delay, but humans led them like a conductor guiding an orchestra. A sudden wave of energy pulsed across the colony from the quantum entity. I realized what it was doing. It was amplifying human intuition, projecting patterns that no alien sensor could detect. Humans weren't just fighting, they were thinking with the entity, merging consciousness with strategy. The hunters adapted quickly, unleashing concentrated energy pulses directly at the colony. Explosions rocked the outer perimeter, sending clouds of dust and debris into the air. Human squads moved swiftly, repairing damage while returning fire, unafraid of the onslaught. Zevin, a human squad leader, shouted over comms. Reinforce left flank. Don't let them breach the perimeter. Quantum stabilization, field active. Hold your positions. The coalition hesitated. Many species had never seen such resolve under fire. Their instinct was retreat, assessment, calculation, but the humans held firm, coordinated, unyielding. I felt the entity pulsing again. They are resilient. They will survive. Guide them. Humans led a counterstrike. Small attack craft launched from hidden platforms, weaving between hunter fire. Energy disruptors disabled hunter shields temporarily, giving the coalition ships a chance to strike. I could see alien officers' jaws drop. These humans, these persistent pests, were the most effective tactical unit they had ever encountered. Then came the moment of pure HFY brilliance. A human officer, using intuitive calculations and quick improvisation, redirected an asteroid on a collision course with the hunter vessels. The maneuver required split-second timing, unmatched reflexes, and unparalleled courage. The asteroid struck one of the hunters directly, breaching its hull. Another hunter veered off course, confused by the unpredictable variables. Callan's voice was sharp. Adjust fleet positions. Focus fire on exposed hunters. Coalition ships scrambled, but the humans had already planned for the aftermath. Their tactics weren't just reaction. They were proactive, anticipating enemy strategy 3 moves ahead. From my neural interface with the quantum entity, I felt its approval. They are worthy protectors. They learn. They adapt. They survive. Hours passed like minutes. Energy beams lanced across space. Shields flared, and explosions lit the Centauri sky. Coalition officers began following human leads more closely. The initial skepticism faded, replaced by awe and reluctant trust. By the end of the first engagement wave, several hunters were destroyed, and the remaining vessels had withdrawn to reassess. The humans, despite exhaustion, remained focused. No celebration, no arrogance, just preparation for the next wave. Callan turned to me. Dr. Varen, these humans, they're not just survivors. They're the galaxy's advantage. Against what is coming, they may be the only ones who can lead us to victory. I nodded, still overwhelmed by the HFY display. Their adaptability, courage, and intelligence were beyond anything the Coalition had imagined. Humanity wasn't a threat. Humanity was hope. But as I watched the remaining hunter vessels retreat into the void, the pulse of the quantum entity warned me. This was only the beginning. Something older, larger, and far more dangerous than even these hunters was approaching. And the galaxy would need every ounce of human ingenuity to survive. The void of space pulsed ominously as the hunters returned, their numbers greater than before. This time, their strategy was more coordinated, more precise, as if they had learned from their earlier failures. Centauri's orbiting defense satellites detected them almost immediately. Red alerts flared across the command deck. Callan's voice was steady, though I could hear the tension beneath it. Second wave incoming. Humans, take lead. Coalition ships, follow their patterning. Trust them. Trust human intuition. I glanced at the humans, and even in the chaos, they were calm. Human officers barked orders in rapid bursts, directing ships, drones, and ground defenses with a confidence that made alien commanders uneasy. Deploy intercept drones to the forward quadrants, one shouted. Enhance energy diffusion patterns. Predict hunter trajectory. Now, from the observation deck, I watched in amazement. Humans were manipulating energy fields, projecting artificial gravitational vectors to deflect hunter projectiles. A coalition officer whispered, "They're bending physics to fight." I nodded silently. That was exactly what they were doing. HFY in action. On the planet's surface, humans prepared for a multi-pronged counterattack. Terraforming equipment transformed into mobile defense nodes, each one capable of producing temporary energy shields or offensive beams. Vehicles we had considered agricultural were now weaponized, repurposed instantly for battlefield dominance. The adaptability was staggering. I interfaced again with the quantum entity. Its pulses synchronized with the human's tactical grid, creating a network of real-time predictive algorithms. They are learning faster than you anticipate. They adapt faster than you allow. They will survive. The hunters struck. Black energy beams tore through space, aiming for the largest human platforms. But humans had already anticipated these moves. Using kinetic shields powered by the quantum entity, the beams were deflected, causing several hunters to collide mid-space. Coalition ships, guided by human predictions, focused fire on the now vulnerable enemies. One human officer, a young woman with short-cropped hair and piercing eyes, executed a daring maneuver. She diverted a plasma beam toward a cluster of hunter vessels, creating a chain reaction that destroyed 3 in a single strike. "Impressive," muttered a coalition admiral. "They fight like an entire armada in one mind." Callan's voice cut through the comms. "Focus on integrating human tactics into your formations. Follow their lead. The hunters may retreat temporarily, but the final wave will come, larger and more lethal. Humans may be the only chance we have to survive." On the ground, humans coordinated with precision. Squads moved like shadows, repairing damaged structures while laying automated traps. Turrets recalibrated instantly, responding to hunter energy signatures before they even fired. I felt a surge of awe. These weren't just humans defending. They were humans mastering, controlling the battlefield. The hunters, realizing the humans had adapted too quickly, shifted their strategy. Swarms of drones descended towards Centauri's surface, targeting key resource nodes. But humans countered immediately. Using quantum-boosted energy pulses, they disrupted drone navigation systems. Drones collided mid-air, detonating in spectacular bursts that illuminated the planet's surface in blue-green light from the quantum entity. From my neural interface, I sensed the entity's exhilaration. They understand cooperation. They understand adaptation. They are worthy. Hours passed. The humans and coalition forces were relentless, merging strategies seamlessly. The second wave of hunters was repelled, many destroyed, some forced into retreat. The human leadership didn't celebrate. Instead, they immediately began fortifying for the third wave, the one they knew would arrive with the full might of the hunter fleet. Callan turned to me. "Dr. Varen, observe. This is why every alien feared humans. Not their strength, not their weapons, not their unpredictability. Their greatest weapon is their ability to adapt, innovate, and survive under impossible odds." I nodded, awestruck. The human HFY traits were undeniable. Ingenuity, resilience, courage, and relentless determination. They didn't just fight, they evolved in real time, reshaping the battlefield to their advantage. As the hunters retreated, I felt a cold pulse from the quantum entity, a warning. They're only the scouts. The true threat is coming. Prepare. Unite. Callan's voice was grim. We've learned something today. The coalition must trust human strategy. Without them, the galaxy will fall. But we also now understand the scale of what's coming. This is bigger than hunters. It's a force older, darker, and more intelligent. Something that has hunted quantum signatures across the galaxy for eons. And they're coming for Centauri. I realized then that everything the humans had done, their planning, their coordination, their relentless HFY ingenuity, wasn't just survival. It was preparation. They were building a foundation, not just to repel the hunters, but to face a threat that no alien species could confront alone. The night sky of Centauri glowed with distant explosions, but humanity remained unbroken. They had turned a vulnerable colony into a fortress, a coordinated defense grid capable of withstanding the impossible. And as I watched from the observation deck, I knew, without doubt, that humans were the key to the galaxy's survival. This was HFY at its finest, not just in strength, but in spirit, not just in combat, but in vision. Centauri's orbit shimmered with the approaching storm. The hunter scouts had barely escaped when the real threat appeared. Colossal vessels of incomprehensible scale, dark as void itself. moving with a patience and purpose that made the coalition commander shiver. They weren't just ships. They were living shadows, vessels of intelligence that radiated an aura of menace even across light years. Callan's voice came through the comms, steady but taut with urgency. "This is it. The Ancients. All hands brace. Humans lead. Coalition supports. Trust them." I felt the quantum entity stir beneath Centauri's surface, its pulses nervous but focused. "They are here. They sense you. They hunt. You are ready." On the ground, humans moved with a speed and precision that was almost alien. Terraforming equipment reconfigured itself into mobile defense platforms. Crystalline drones deployed in tight formations, their edges glowing with energy capable of disrupting spatial fields. Vehicles of every size adapted for speed, defense, or offensive deployment. Each squad acted as if connected by a single consciousness. Coordinated, adaptive, relentless. I watched as one human engineer redirected the flow of a nearby energy conduit to reinforce a shield over a key terraforming node, then sprinted to another sector, recalibrating drones mid-flight. A coalition officer whispered beside me, "They think faster than any AI we've encountered. Faster than any species. They adapt while we react." The Ancients struck with subtle precision, using spatial distortions and energy tendrils that tore through space itself. Their attacks didn't just target humans. They sought to destabilize the quantum entity, to erase its signature before it could coordinate defenses. But humans anticipated this. Using a combination of predictive algorithms derived from the entity's own quantum pulses, they redirected attacks mid-course, turning destruction into a strategic advantage. From orbit, the human fleets danced. They split, merged, and reformed with almost preternatural timing. Coalition ships, initially disorganized, followed the humans' lead, integrating their maneuvers into the battlefield choreography. Plasma bursts, energy shields, and quantum pulses clashed against the dark forms of the Ancients, illuminating space with explosions of blue-green light, the signature of the quantum entity's involvement. Dr. Varen, interfaced with the entity, felt its excitement and terror simultaneously. They are ready. They are worthy. But the threat is immense. The entity communicated with humans in bursts of data and patterns, guiding defenses and predicting attacks with a clarity that made the coalition officers uneasy. They learned faster than you can comprehend. Trust them. On the ground, human squads executed flanking maneuvers that defied conventional physics. Gravity fields were locally manipulated, creating corridors of zero inertia where soldiers moved at impossible speeds. Infantry wielded energy weapons that projected adaptive shielding around allies, and automated sentries repositioned themselves instantly, anticipating the Ancients' unpredictable attacks. One human commander, a middle-aged man with silver hair and eyes that seemed to pierce space itself, barked orders. Deploy adaptive phase barriers. Reinforce node gamma. Anticipate ripple trajectories. His words were precise, and the soldiers executed them without hesitation, as if the commands were embedded in their instincts. From my observation point, I saw the Ancients attempting a concentrated assault on the quantum entity. A massive shadow tendril shot toward the surface, warping the air and ground as it approached. Humans reacted instantly. Energy barriers expanded, intersecting the tendril and fragmenting it into harmless microshocks. Simultaneously, drones launched countermeasures, emitting pulses that disrupted the entity targeting waves of the Ancients. Callan's voice came again. Notice their HFY traits. Not brute strength, not weaponry alone, but ingenuity, adaptation, and courage. They turn every disadvantage into an advantage. They do not retreat, they evolve. The ancients, realizing that their direct attacks were failing, attempted a new strategy: temporal distortions. Ripples in time began to fracture local space, slowing coalition movements and causing human equipment to misalign. Yet humans adapted. Soldiers synchronized with quantum pulses from the entity, moving in perfect timing with the distorted temporal flow. Weapons recalibrated mid-strike. Drones adjusted their navigation algorithms in real time. The humans did not just react, they predicted. I felt my chest tighten. Even the coalition, with its centuries of experience and superior technology, could barely keep pace. Humans have become the central node of the galaxy's defense network, guiding allies and outmaneuvering the ancients at every turn. Hours passed. The battle raged with intensity beyond anything I had witnessed. Yet despite overwhelming odds, humans endured. They weren't the largest fleet, nor the most technologically advanced, but their adaptability, their relentless focus, their ability to learn faster than the enemy, kept them alive. Finally, the ancients, after sustaining catastrophic losses and failing to destabilize the quantum entity, retreated. Their shadowy forms dissolved into the void, leaving a silence that was almost deafening. Humans did not cheer. They assessed damage, repaired systems, and reconfigured defenses. Their victory was tempered by the knowledge that the true threat remained. Callan turned to me. Dr. Varen, watch closely. This is why the galaxy fears humans. They survive. They adapt. They innovate. They endure. And they inspire those around them to do the same. Every species that stands with them becomes stronger. Every species that opposes them falls. The quantum entity pulsed gently beneath Centauri's surface. They are worthy. The galaxy may yet survive, but the hunters are only the beginning. And in that moment, I understood. Humans were not just survivors or fighters. They were a force of evolution itself, a catalyst for the galaxy's survival against unimaginable darkness. HFY was not just a slogan. It was the very essence of their existence. The calm after the first assault lasted mere hours. From a void beyond Centauri, new anomalies appeared. The ancients were regrouping, larger, darker, and more intelligent in their tactics. Sensor sweeps detected massive energy fluctuations beyond normal spatial distortion, suggesting that their ships were no longer just vessels, but partially sentient constructs, capable of independent strategy and rapid adaptation. Callan's voice cut sharply through the calms. All coalition units, focus on human-led coordination. Humans direct strategy. Observe and follow. Trust them. On the surface, the humans worked with a synchronization I had never seen. Terraforming stations transformed into mobile command centers. Energy conduits were rerouted to power adaptive shielding grids, and drones formed complex, overlapping patrol patterns that reacted before any sensor could detect a threat. Every human soldier, engineer, and pilot operated as if connected to a single neural network. I watched in awe as a small squad intercepted an ancient probe attempting to disable a quantum stabilization node. Using gravity manipulation belts, they jumped higher than physics should allow, recalibrating a microdrone midair to intercept the probe. In seconds, the threat was neutralized and the node remained stable. A coalition officer muttered beside me, "We could never replicate this coordination. Never. They're rewriting the rules." From orbit, the ancients unleashed a new weapon, a temporal entropy cannon. The weapon caused local space to warp, slowing movement and scrambling sensors. Ships that approached Centauri found themselves stuck in ghostly loops of repeated motion, trapped in fragments of time. But humans adapted instantly. Callan's tone was filled with awe and urgency. Notice their predictive adjustments. Using the quantum entity's pulse patterns, they are effectively recalibrating their own time frames. They see the loops before the loops occur. They turn the enemy's weapon against itself. Indeed, human engineers linked their ship's guidance systems with the quantum entity's neural output. Entire fleets moved as a single organism, flowing with the temporal distortions rather than fighting them. Coalition ships, once chaotic under the cannon's influence, now moved in seamless formation under human direction. On Centauri's surface, humans fortified the colony further. Terraforming constructs reconfigured into kinetic barricades and energy conduits that could deflect or absorb the ancients' attacks. Soldiers worked tirelessly, their movements precise, but not mechanical. Each adaptation was a mix of instinct, strategy, and improvisation. I followed a human captain as he coordinated 3 squads against a wave of incoming drones. Without hesitation, he executed maneuvers that even the most advanced coalition war simulations could not predict. Split here, converge there, phase shield up, redirect energy to flank, he commanded. In seconds, the drones were neutralized with minimal damage to the colony. It was not brute force that won battles. It was adaptation, ingenuity, and relentless observation. Humans took information in real time, processed it, and acted with perfect efficiency. They didn't just react, they evolved the battlefield around them. The quantum entity pulsed beneath Centauri's surface, responding to the humans' adaptive efforts. Its luminescence intensified, generating localized fields that enhanced human coordination and weapon accuracy. It was as if the entity itself had become a part of the defense network, a living amplifier of HFY ingenuity. From orbit, the ancient shadow vessels attempted another approach. This time, they unleashed an array of quantum destabilizers, devices capable of erasing spatial coordinates and collapsing energy fields. Entire fleet formations dissolved under the strain, and coalition pilots panicked. Humans reacted instantly. Using predictive algorithms synced with the quantum entity, they created counterfields, redirecting the destabilizer's energy back toward the ancients. The attackers staggered under the unexpected countermeasures, and one by one, shadow vessels began to fracture under their own energy. I felt a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. Humans were not just fighting. They were teaching the galaxy how to survive. Every move, every adaptation, every calculated risk demonstrated why aliens feared human colonies. They were not the strongest, nor the fastest. They were the most effective. On the ground, Dr. Varen and I monitored quantum fluctuations. The entity communicated in bursts of rapid pulses, guiding humans and providing insights that the coalition had never dreamed of. They learn fast, faster than any other species. They adapt, they endure. Trust them. The battle raged for cycles, each wave more intense than the last. But human determination never wavered. They repaired, adapted, and innovated faster than the ancients could counter. Coalition ships, following human command, began to hold positions they never could before. Even previously hesitant species now trusted the humans implicitly, following their lead in the most dangerous engagement the galaxy had seen in millennia. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the ancients withdrew. Their shadowy vessels receded into the void, leaving behind the battered but unbroken defenses of Centauri. Humans and coalition forces assessed damage, repaired systems, and recalibrated defenses. No celebrations. There was no time for triumph. The war was not over. Callan's voice resonated across all comms, calm and resolute. This is why the galaxy fears humans. Not for aggression, not for strength, but for their ingenuity, their adaptability, and their relentless will. They survive, they innovate, they endure, and they inspire allies to do the same. I looked at the human soldiers and engineers, their faces smeared with exhaustion and grime, yet their eyes burning with determination. They had faced the impossible and adapted. They had not just survived, they had led. The quantum entity pulsed gently beneath Centauri, now synchronized with human efforts. They are worthy. The galaxy may yet survive, but the real reckoning is coming. And I understood fully for the first time. Humans were not just allies. They were catalysts for the galaxy's survival. HFY was not a slogan. It was the essence of a species capable of facing darkness with courage, ingenuity, and an unbreakable will. The void beyond Centauri trembled with unnatural vibrations. The ancients were returning, not with scouting probes, not with isolated waves, but with full might. Entire fleets, enormous constructs of darkness and geometry that defied physics, emerged from the edges of the system. Their intent was unmistakable: annihilation, not negotiation. From the observation deck of the Quantum Horizons, I watched the approaching Shadow Armada, my multi-species crew tense but ready. Callan's voice crackled through the comms. Humans lead. Coalition follows. Observe, adapt, and act. We trust them. Below, Centauri's surface became a hive of activity. Human engineers and soldiers moved with almost preternatural efficiency, reconfiguring defensive grids, reprogramming orbital defense satellites, and deploying adaptive energy barriers. The quantum entity pulsed rhythmically, its glow now harmonized with human neural output, amplifying their coordination to levels no alien species had ever seen. Captain Lasura, a human tactician, strode across the command center with calm authority. Her voice cut sharply through the comms. All units synchronized with the quantum pulse. Predictive algorithms active. Prioritize fleet neutralization first, then orbital bombardment. Ground teams maintain defensive posture. The ancients struck first. From orbit, they fired an array of quantum disruptors, tearing at the very fabric of space near Centauri. Ships that entered the field experienced distortion, time loops, and sudden spatial collapses. Coalition pilots panicked, but humans adapted instantaneously. Predictive modeling synced with the quantum entity allowed them to anticipate each pulse. Energy redirection fields deployed, absorbing and bouncing the ancients' attack back toward their own fleet. On the ground, human squads moved as one organism. Soldiers with augmented exosuits used gravitic belts to leap and maneuver through the battlefield. Engineers repaired critical systems mid-combat, using modular units that reconfigured automatically under combat protocols. Every action was adaptive, every response instantaneous, every tactic a perfect balance of instinct, experience, and innovation. I followed Dr. Varen and a human tactical liaison through the command hub. They aren't just reacting, I said, all lacing my voice. They're evolving the battlefield around them. Every time the ancients try a new attack, humans convert it into an advantage. The ancients escalated, deploying massive biomechanical constructs to assault Centauri's surface. These machines were unlike any technology we had encountered. Organic yet mechanical, their intelligence distributed, capable of learning from each engagement. Callan's voice was calm but urgent. Humans now, without hesitation, human squads activated their experimental protocols. Using neural synchronization with the quantum entity, they projected predictive combat overlays across the battlefield. Drones deployed in intricate formations, creating moving shields and attack vectors. Infantry units moved with synchronized precision, striking weak points before the ancients could adapt. Even coalition units, previously ineffective, found themselves performing with uncanny efficiency under human guidance. I watched a human operative redirect a plasma cannon mid-flight. The device had been aimed to destroy a coalition ship, but she recalculated the trajectory in milliseconds, redirecting it to strike an ancient dreadnought instead. The explosion tore through the vessel, sending a shockwave that disoriented surrounding enemies. From the surface, the quantum entity pulsed violently. Its energy output amplified human reflexes and decision-making. Each pulse translated into predictive neural input, effectively giving the humans foresight into the ancients' moves. Callan's comms crackled. This is unprecedented. No species has ever integrated an external sentient entity into combat so seamlessly. Humans are rewriting the rules of warfare. The battle intensified, and yet humans never faltered. They adapted to every ancient tactic, innovated on the fly, and protected allies without hesitation. HFY was no longer a concept. It was a visible force, tangible and unstoppable. Then came the critical moment. The ancients unleashed their final weapon, a temporal collapse generator, capable of erasing entire star systems from existence. Coalition ships froze in terror, but humans acted instantly. Using the quantum entity's guidance, they synchronized every energy source on Centauri. Terraforming devices, orbital satellites, exosuits, and even civilian infrastructure combined to form a massive harmonic counterfield. The generator fired. The field expanded, warping time and space around Centauri. The ancients expected chaos, but instead, the counterfield amplified human precision. The temporal collapse rebounded, destabilizing the ancients' entire fleet. Ships disintegrated as their own weapon consumed them. On the ground, humans cheered silently. No exuberance, just quiet, resolute determination. Centauri had survived. Humanity had turned the tide of an intergalactic war through ingenuity, adaptability, and relentless determination. Callan's voice, rarely emotional, resonated across all comms. Observe and remember, humans are not the galaxy's strongest. They're not the largest, but they're the most capable of surviving, adapting, and overcoming the impossible. They are catalysts. HFY is not a slogan. It is proof. I turned to look at the human soldiers, exhausted but unbroken, their faces reflecting the light of the quantum entity. They had faced an ancient armada, a weaponized civilization older than history itself, and they had prevailed. Dr. Varen whispered beside me, "I've never seen a species do what humans just did. We will never underestimate them again." I nodded, realizing the truth of it. Humans were not conquerors, not destroyers. They were guardians, innovators, and catalysts. The galaxy feared them because they represented possibility, the potential to overcome darkness, unite allies, and endure against impossible odds. The quantum entity pulsed one last time, a gentle, glowing acknowledgement of gratitude. Humanity had proven its worth, not through domination, but through action, adaptation, and courage. As the fleets regrouped and coalition forces stabilized, I looked out at Centauri, the planet still scarred but alive. Humans had not just survived, they had ascended. HFY was no longer a hope, it was a reality. And I understood finally why every alien had feared a human colony. Not for their weapons, not for their unpredictability, but for their capacity to rise, to endure, and to change the course of the galaxy. The stars beyond Centauri shimmered with infinite possibility, and for the first time, I truly believed that life, diversity, and ingenuity could stand against the darkness to come. Humanity had proven it, and in doing so, they had given the galaxy hope.